Welcome back to Build a Great Life. We're continuing on today with our mental health versus mental illness. So yesterday we spoke on the differences between mental health and mental illnesses. Let's see if we can give some real life examples of those differences, but still show how they relate to each other. So let's talk about Sean and Gary. They're both working in construction on a job site. They're working on an outside job, prepping the foundation of the pad to be poured. It's hot, dirty work. They get up early in the morning and they drive to the site. They know they've got an inspector coming out at the end of the day to get their work approved. The foreman has scheduled some equipment to show up to make the job go faster and smoother. The guys arrive and set to unlocking the connexes, getting their tools out, finishing their coffee or their energy drinks. Gary is a veteran with PTSD. Doesn't sleep well or much, but he's a hard worker and he's the go-to guy to get it done. Now, Sean came up in the field with a family in the same company. They're both the same age and married. They both have one child, while Sean has a second child on the way. Um, they no sooner than to get the tools laid out in the early morning than the foreman gives them a call and says that, hey, he can't make it to the job today. He's got something else that's come up. But they both know what needs to be done. And he sends them the contact information for the equipment rental and the inspector and gets it passed on to them. Guys go ahead and grab the shovels and picks and the levels, and they head out to the pad and start some of the hand digging while it's cool. Well, it doesn't take long for the work to build up and the sweat and to start feeling the rising of the temperature as the sun is coming up and about. The equipment should have been here by now, Sean states out loud, and he's frustrated. Gary calls a rental company to check on the equipment. He's walking around on the phone talking. A bit of hand waving and gesturing can be seen while Gary's on the phone. And he's red faced as he returns to the pad to tell Sean, it ain't happening. They can't get the equipment to us. And I called the foreman and he's not even answering. Now, both Sean and Gary are upset. They know that the work will have to be done by hand and at double speed to meet their deadline for the inspector. So they're both giving it their all and working at a fevered pace. The temps are now up high, emotionally and physically. Then all of a sudden the pick handle breaks when Sean strikes a rock with it, and it hurts his hand a bit, and he loses his temper and he throws the pick down in the bottom of the hole where him and Gary are working. And when he throws it down, the handle snaps off, flies over, and it hits Gary in the shin. Now it's not a lot of pain, but Gary is infuriated, and he's in a small amount of pain, and Gary's anger grows. His heart rate's increasing even more. He is visibly red-faced and screaming. His hands are grasping in fists. His shoulders are flexed. He's screaming about not having support, right? Um, the he doesn't have the right tools for the job, and how this would never happen if he was making the calls and if this was under his control, and how he was in control in a unit during the war. Now he can't even dig a hole right. He's stomping around. He can't stop this rolling anger. He's beating his fist into the ground, and then he heads over to the Connex and he starts throwing items around. We take a pause, we take a look. Sean, even though he lost his temper when the handle broke and he was a little bit hurt as well, has calmed down and is collecting the parts and taking them to the Connex. Now, I'll stop right there with the story. You get the idea of this scene, what we're talking about, where we're going with that. In mental health, we can see where Sean got angry and he reacted. A normal reaction to a stressful environment that he was in. Gary, being in the same exact stressful environment, has an underlying mental illness that won't allow him to calm down in the same way that Sean did. Both have the same stressors. Both reacted to anger, but both did not have the same abilities to return to that calm state or to keep their anger from bubbling over and taking control. Okay? This is an example that we use anger as a response, but it could have easily have been sadness, worry, depression, your thought process of being able to think. Uh, it can also have to do with the way that you cope with those emotions. It could involve drugs and alcohol, self-harm, or harm to others. Okay, so there we've talked about the two different differences right there, right? We see a mental health, we see a normal reaction to something and how we responded to it and how we kept it in control and we're used to it. And the other one, the same kind of stressors, same environment, but yet there was an underlying cause that kept us from being able to react in a normal way. One is a normal mental health issue. One is a mental illness. So take a look at this. I think it's good points that we can look at and talk about what are those things that we can see in our job that affect us under mental health? What are those things that may be affecting us and pushing us to those limits of our mental illness? So let's continue to take this journey together. We can help battle this stigma of mental health and mental illness. Thank you. Stay safe.